Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there tonight and having a great ending to your day. Great week out there so far. Got you a big update on what's going on with these two storm systems right out in front of us. One is really developing right now as I speak, but will really get cranked up overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. This will affect portions of the upper Midwest, north central U.S., the Great Lakes region, even portions of the northern Ohio Valley, and then it'll eventually get into places like Pennsylvania, New York State, might even throw a little bit of a bones as far as snowfall-wise all the way to New York City, portions of New Jersey, places like that. We'll talk about that, give you some updated information on that storm system, but a lot of this video is going to go towards trying to figure out what's going to happen early next week. There is a nor'easter potential for the Northeast, New England. And with that, you got the chance for high winds. Someone's going to see some heavy snow. I can tell you the GFS, which was really not on board with this storm system, has ticked towards the Euro. I would say tick, but it's made some substantial shifts over the last, I would say, few model cycles towards the European, which the European has definitely a high-end, high-impact kind of scenario where certainly has a pretty strong low pressure really affecting areas of the Northeast. So we're going to try to figure it out for you guys, give you the latest information. This will be a heavy topic over the next several days, I would say. So we're going to try to get as detailed with this as we possibly can. Of course, we kind of know really what's going to happen for the most part with this storm system right out in front of us. But regardless, we'll take a couple more stabs at it over the next 12 to 24 hours and trying to figure out how much snow some of you folks can get. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. Let's take a look at water vapor loop. There's a little bit of a dip in the jet stream going on right here. It dips down kind of in the western U.S. and then it kind of comes back up like this. So this dip in the jet stream, that's in general where the storm track is. So you have basically a piece of energy, and in response, you got some deep convection that is going to begin to develop in Nebraska, Iowa, and really get going later tonight, really into tomorrow morning. And as this does, you're probably going to get some heavier precipitation that really gets going. Let's get all this off the map. It's when I previously tried to start a video and I failed because I was tongue twisting words left and right. You know how I do on here, guys. I always make up words on the fly here. But this is going like this, going to bring a lot of moisture up through here. And this moisture is going to get thrown into some decent cold air. I mean, it's relatively marginal up here, but you still got cold air, and it's going to kind of get thrown into this region up here. So you're going to have snow that falls in this yellow area. I would extend this a little bit further south also, but I'm having a little issues with my mouse, and it's not really wanting to work with me. Snow is going to fall down to here too. That does include Chicago. So Minneapolis, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago is going to get accumulating snow. Now, Chicago's kind of on that south end, right? The jury's still out how much heavy snow you guys can get, if it is even heavy. But for now, they're forecasting a couple inches. This could extend into Cleveland. And eventually, as we get over the next 24 hours, we'll probably get into this area right into here, kind of. So let's figure this out, and that's what we're going to do here. So let's get on off this and completely get rid of this. And let's take a look at the watches, warnings, things like that. Winter weather advisories up for the entire state of South Dakota. You got a few winter storm warnings up in the far northeast portion of the state. Winter storm warnings up for northeast Iowa, 3 counties in far northwest Illinois, and then several counties in kind of western to southwest Wisconsin, and basically the entire southeast flank of Minnesota have winter storm warnings. No winter storm warnings up for Minneapolis, just winter weather advisories, but you guys could see several inches of snow. Okay, even, you know, what's kind of wild to me is Milwaukee's only under a winter weather advisory, but you guys could get over a half a foot of snow. I'm very surprised there's no winter storm warnings extended a little bit further eastward into the southern sections of Wisconsin, but hey, that's what they got right now. Even some winter weather advisories all the way down to northwest Kansas. But let's get this rolling, guys, and try to figure it out. We'll talk about the northern plains, north central U.S. really here first. We'll start this off tomorrow morning. Okay, you see what I mean by deep convection? You see these darker blues right here, and even the yellows where it's just raining. That's some deeper convection getting thrown back into this more colder air that creates snow. And in this case, here we go. We're getting into deeper in the morning, getting closer to late morning, midday. Snow begins to overspread the entire southern half of Minnesota, snowing in just about the entire state of South Dakota, snowing in northern Nebraska at this point. I would say Omaha is just going to be just rain. And, it's snowing pretty good in Des Moines. But really, it's the northern sections and I think the northeast sections of Iowa that's going to see the heaviest snow. But, you get all the way to about 2 p.m. Central Time out here, you got some really heavy snow falling in basically the northern half of Iowa and then the southern half of Minnesota. I would say around middle of the afternoon tomorrow in Minneapolis, it's going to be snowing at a pretty good clip, maybe half-inch to inch per hour rates. It'll still be snowing in Dakotas, but this will begin to taper off for you guys. We'll continue to snow all the way into tomorrow evening. Still snowing up here as far north as Minneapolis. Still some lingering snow in Des Moines. I really need to learn more towns and communities in Iowa so I can say things besides Des Moines. But I'll get better at that, guys. But it's going to be a pretty hefty snow event for, I would say, eastern to really northeast Iowa. Okay, and this continues. We're getting in to really the middle of the night tomorrow night, and then that's when it really begins to kind of mellow down for you folks in Minnesota. Might be dealing with some lingering light snow. Now, we go over to the upper Midwest, Great Lakes region. We'll start this off around midday tomorrow. Heavy snow begins to overspread Wisconsin. I think the heaviest snow will remain into southern Wisconsin. I think snow could start as early as maybe 4 or 5 p.m. in Milwaukee and Green Bay. You might start off with some rain. You probably will in Chicago, but as you're getting fully entrenched into the dinner time, evening kind of period of the day, it could be snowing really hard around 6, 7, 8 p.m. tomorrow night, around this time tomorrow night in Chicago. I think this is when you'll get your most snow. You could get 1 inch per hour rates in this point because you are close to the warm air advection, meaning yes, you're on the snowy side of this. You got enough cold air to work with to produce snow, but you're flirting with that warmer air. So you have that warm air advection, which means basically the column aloft, the column is fully saturated. So you're still below 32 degrees above your heads, but barely. And you're very moist aloft. So basically all the precipitation that's falling is all coming and reaching the ground. So you're probably going to have some pretty insane snowfall rates, probably in northern Illinois, even more moving into far northern Indiana tomorrow evening, where it could be snowing like those $half size snowflakes in Chicago. It'll be a really pretty snow, I think. But this is continuing, and I think it'll last in Chicago all the way to about the wee hours of the morning. And then by the time you're waking up Friday morning, you're probably dealing with a little bit of leftover snow flurries. But we'll back this off. I don't want to just completely skip Michigan. I think it'll move into Detroit probably in the middle of the night tomorrow night, overspread the entire state of Michigan late tomorrow evening into the overnight hours. I think you could see a little bit of snow probably in the wee hours of the morning in Cleveland, especially northwest Ohio. But Cleveland certainly could get some heavy snow in the wee hours of the morning tomorrow night into Friday morning, really is what I'm saying, the wee hours of the morning. When I say wee hours of the morning, I really mean that like 2 to 5 a.m. kind of time frame. So that time frame, but for Friday morning. But then you're waking up Friday morning. I think you could be waking up some moderate to heavy snow in Cleveland. It's certainly possible. Detroit snowing pretty good. And you're dealing with some lingering lake effect snow that might continue to allow some snowfall in and around the Milwaukee, Chicago area. I definitely think it's possible. And it's, at this point, it's still snowing in the eastern sections of Michigan as we're getting into Friday midday. But this system's on out of here by the time we get into Friday evening. We'll look at the Northeast with this first system. Okay, we'll start this off tomorrow night. We're getting, at this point, into Friday morning. Remember, the HRRR model only goes out 48 hours, so we can't see the full length of the storm from the short-range models. But I can tell you, the HRRR model is wanting you guys to start off as a little burst of snow as far south as Baltimore, Washington, D.C., northern VA, the higher terrain of West Virginia, Maryland. You guys start off as a little bit of burst, maybe of some sleet or snow. Okay, and then, the HRRR model, now please don't take this as it's going to happen, really has a solid 2 to 4 hour window of some snow in Washington, D.C., Baltimore. I don't know if this is going to happen, but we'll see. We got to watch these trends. But at this point, it's snowing again in Erie, snowing in these same sections that just got snow about 36 hours ago, snowing in Buffalo again, where you're above average snowfall-wise. This is going to be knocking on the door of Binghamton probably around midday Friday. But, I mean, you stop it right here. Listen, I mean, it is borderline snowing in Philadelphia, Baltimore, and I think you guys will see snow from this. And, in fact, you jump to the Euro, okay, because the HRRR model only goes 48 hours out. The Euro shows it too, guys. I mean, it even shows it starting off as a little bit of snow in Pittsburgh before switching to rain ultimately. But, I mean, look at the blue down here in Washington, D.C. Heck, you know, it might mix a little bit down here in Charlottesville, maybe even Richmond. We'll see. But we'll keep this going about, we're around, what are we, Friday around 6, 7 p.m. around dinner time. You know, it could be snowing in Philadelphia at this point, could be right on the fringe. Most of the state, except you guys in Pittsburgh, are seeing snow in the state of Pennsylvania, snowing in the southern tier of New York State, snowing in Buffalo Friday night. And then this almost tries to make it to southern New England, and then this low pressure pops off the coastline of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and they get shunt south with a high pressure that really pushes this storm more southward. Be a different story with the second system, but you could get a little bit of snow Friday night for New York City. And, you know, we'll see what this system does. You could get into Saturday morning and maybe a last kind of hurrah of snow here in New Jersey, Delaware, eastern PA. You might have some snow flying around Saturday. We'll see what happens with that. But as far as snowfall from this system, this first system, between now and the duration of this event, I think most of the state of South Dakota could get accumulating snow anywhere from 3 to as much as 6, 7 inches of snow. Southeast sections and northeast sections of Wyoming and southeast sections of Montana, a few inches of snow is possible. Southern sections of South Dakota, a few inches of snow. Nebraska will be a tricky state, but I think if you're in northern sections of Nebraska, especially kind of northern to northeast sections of Nebraska, 2 to 3 inches of snow is certainly possible. Central Nebraska, get a couple inches of snow. We'll see what happens. But not much is expected here. We'll get into kind of the Great Lakes region, upper Midwest. They're going for around 7 to 8 inches of snow from the National Weather Service in Milwaukee. Okay, they're going for about 2 to 3 inches of snow in Chicago. If there's any event that you guys could kind of bust on the high end, I would say it's this event. Let's see how much snow you can get in Chicago from this event. I'm going to love to see how much we got. Rockford, you know, a few inches of snow, but you go into the far northwest corner of Illinois, you got winter storm warnings up, and you got them for a reason, and that's because you can get over a half a foot of snow. Same thing with northeast to Iowa, you know, 6, 7, 8 inches of snow. And that's why, you know, I'm kind of confused why there isn't winter storm warnings that extend all the way until Milwaukee. That might change by the time some of you folks watch this video, but this is going to be a quick hitting thumping of snow for you folks. Minneapolis, you could get 3 to 6 inches of snow off this, maybe the more higher end of that. And most of the states of Michigan, I think the UP and Michigan ain't going to get much from this. Somebody can squeeze out maybe a couple inches of snow, but you know, hey, they're going for about 4 to 5, maybe as much as 6 inches of snow for Detroit, and then 2 to 3 inches of snow for Cleveland. And then far northwest Ohio, maybe 3 to 4 inches of snow. Far northern counties. If you're in Indianapolis, you're just going to see a cold rain. But the far, like an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Indianapolis, certainly could get a few inches of snow. And then the far kind of southwest corner of Michigan, I think we'll see the most snow out of this, where you can get a quick, heavy half a foot of snow, heavy, wet snow. The Northeast from this, you know, not expecting much. I think a few inches of snow could fall in the higher terrain in West Virginia. Watch out for somebody down here a little bit deeper into Maryland, Washington, D.C., you know, Baltimore, Philadelphia. You guys could squeeze out more than what this is saying. But I definitely think northern PA, the southern tier of New York State, southwest New York State, you're good for around 2 to as much as 5 inches of snow. Erie could get over a half a foot of snow. Scranton, a couple inches of snow. New York City could get a few tenths of an inch of snow, could get sneak in an inch. But y'all been struggling to verify it all in this region. But look at the national blend of all models. You know, it pretty much stays the course with the National Weather Service. So that's our first system. Our next system, okay, here it comes. And we'll back it up a little bit. I can tell you, I'm not going to break down the Ohio Valley, Midwest much, North Central U.S., but this is going to add more snow for you folks. So this is the system that we just talked about. Here comes our next system right here. This is probably going to bring another round of light to moderate snow for Minnesota, Minneapolis, probably the same. It's basically the same air mass in place, right? That's not going to change much. So kind of the same areas that see snow from the first one will have a chance to see snow from the second one. Except, you go off the European and it's saying, hey, maybe areas a little bit deeper into Illinois, maybe central Illinois could see a little bit of snow from this. But we're getting into Sunday morning. Notice the low pressure is the jet is basically digging like this. Okay, if that made any sense here, let's try to do it without the mouse messing up. The jet's kind of digging like that. So the storm track kind of starts this way and kind of digs down and eventually is going to try to kind of go like this, if that makes any sense at all. I might have dug that line a little bit too far south. And that's a favorable setup for a strengthening storm, slow-moving storm system off the coast of the Northeast. So we keep this moving. Look at this. Sunday midday, maybe a little winter weather in the North Carolina mountains, Virginia mountains. West Virginia mountains. It's definitely possible to start off. I would not be surprised one bit we get winter weather advisories in the North Carolina mountains. Winter storm warnings, I don't know about that. But typically with these nor'easter kind of events, it starts off with some winter weather in areas as far south as the Carolinas. But in this case, not enough cold air. We're entering mid-March, and this will be confined to the higher elevations. But it's certainly possible. Snow falling in the higher terrain, Sunday evening, Virginia, West Virginia, and then this really starts to move into Pennsylvania, and then this is when we get a little bit closer. And here it comes, same deal, Pennsylvania, Monday morning, you're waking up to moderate snow, maybe some heavier snow in southern sections of Pennsylvania. Well, watch this. It's very close to Washington, D.C. You kind of got like a mix going on, but ultimately it's going to be rain. Here comes the low pressure. At this point, as we're getting into Monday morning, it's a 994 millibar low pressure. We'll see how much this drops. In about a 3-hour span, it drops about 5 millibars. So it's strengthening very quickly. This is a wind-driven rain probably in Long Island. Rain moving into the southern tier of southern sections of southern New England. A heavy snow just inland, like Albany, Western Mass, northwestern Connecticut. Heavy snow. And then here it comes, strengthening even more. At this point, it's a 975 millibar low pressure Monday evening. That's a pretty strong storm system right off the coast of the Northeast, right off the coast of New Jersey and Long Island. But look at this. You got cold air coming in. This system's bringing a little bit of its own cold air. You're still rain in New York City, but you got the rain snow line very close by. Okay, and this is some heavy snow falling. You keep going, crashes the snow in New York City. You're starting to mix with snow late Monday evening here in Boston. And then all of a sudden, you crash the snow in New York City, Long Island, Boston. The only place you're still hanging on to rain, a wind-driven rain at this point in the wee hours of the morning, next Tuesday morning, March the 14th, is like Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod, things like that. That's the only place. But, I mean, look at from New York City to Mass, absolutely getting slammed with heavy snow, a wind-driven heavy snow. We take it to Tuesday morning, and look, in a 3-hour span, this low pressure barely moves, and in fact, it's heading towards the Northeast. It's getting blocked and forced back inland, okay? And it actually gets kind of shunted south. And I mean, you got all kinds of things going on. You got a wave of snow moving into coastal regions of Maine. It's snowing as far north as Vermont, New Hampshire. It's snowing in New York City. You got cold air wrapping into this now where it's snowing in the Delmarva area, but raining in New Jersey. It's a weird setup. It really is. But finally, this is able to kind of loosen its grip. And then it ends with some snow in southern New England, and then it heads on out. And then it almost tries to come back. And look at this. One last hurrah, throws more heavy snow back in the down east areas of Maine, southern coastline of Maine, and then Cape Cod, it's snowing. So this event starts as early. It starts to move in Sunday night, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. Okay, it's like a three-day event at least, based off the latest European. Now the GFS, I'm showing tropical tidbits for a reason. Here comes here comes our second storm that we're talking about here. Now it's not as crazy. Here's a low pressure. The low pressure ain't as strong. You know, we look at this in the middle of the night, Monday night, 994 millibar low pressure. It's well off the coast, but look, it strengthens pretty quickly in a 6-hour period, and then it wants to really plow areas of Nova Scotia and then Maine, and then starts throwing some heavy snow back into southern New England, and kind of gets lost, and then it just kind of meanders, and then it really affects Nova Scotia and then certain sections of Canada. Okay, but one thing I want to show you here is if we look at it right here, watch this trend. I'm going to go like 4 runs back. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't even have a storm system 24 hours ago off the GFS. Now let's trend it right to the latest GFS. Bang, 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 bang. Look how much this has trended towards the European. Now we have a storm system that's really close to the Northeast. So let's talk about wind speeds, and then we'll talk about what a lot of people are wondering, and that, hey, Mitch, that how much snow are we going to get? I understand. Check out the Euro with the winds. If something like a Euro happens, here it comes. You start to feel the impacts of 20 mile per hour wind gusts, and that's not a lot, as early as Monday morning, and then it increases. Then midday Monday, you start to get some 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts that enter the coastline of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Long Island. But look at these strong wind gusts just off the coast. And then we start to get into like Monday evening, and look, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, tropical storm force winds. You got winds gusting to 60 to 70 miles per hour, southeast Mass. So this would be definitely that classic nor'easter where you're going to have big time winds, but the chance for power outages, and this really cranks up Monday night in the middle of the night. I mean, you got winds gusting to 70, 75 miles per hour based off the Euro. Not saying this is a forecast. Out here at Cape Cod, it is absolutely whipping. You got 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts in Boston. It's very strong, and then this gets kind of pushed into Mass, into the coastal regions of Maine. I mean, this is for Tuesday morning. You got 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts entering southern New England. And there's a lot going on. A strong wind event, just like with any nor'easter. We got to figure that out. We got to get the fine-tune the details, and we really will be able to do that once we get this first system on out of the way. But as far as snowfall, and we'll go on and jump over that. As far as snowfall, this is the first system. Now watch as these totals skyrocket. Now here comes the second system right here. Look how much it increases. Okay. And we'll take it all the way out to about Thursday evening. You got about a 6 to 8 inch snowfall mean in Boston, southern New England, over a foot inland, Connecticut, southern sections of Connecticut, especially northwest Connecticut. I mean, you got 10 to 12 inches of snow. Sorry, my nose is itching, guys. But even Long Island, guys, I mean, you got a 3 to 5 inch snowfall mean. I mean, in New York City, around a 3 to 4 inch mean. Look at the northern sections of New Jersey. An 8 to 10, 12 inch snowfall mean. But, look at this, ensemble mean down here in the higher elevations of Virginia, even all the way down to Boone, North Carolina. I haven't mentioned snow for areas pretty far south in a long time, since like January. But you got a 2 to 3 inch mean in Boone. Okay, this could be a big hit, a last hurrah for ski country in West Virginia, which has really suffered. Pennsylvania looks like a big storm, southern tier. But you remember, this is adding what's already fell from the first system, but really focusing on this. So big signal, the GFS ensemble, what does it look like with this? It's certainly more north. Doesn't have as much snow as far south, but it's just because it's not picking up probably on as many members as the European ensemble is. But we'll have to see how this trends, because this is kind of one of those events that can trend higher and higher in the coming days. So we're going to figure this out for you guys. Could be a high impact event for the Northeast coming up early next week. God bless all y'all, and I'll have you an update in the morning.